ما شاء الله. أحمد شكرا يا علي، خطي جميل وخطك أجمل. وخطك أجمل. علي من هذا الفتى الذي معك يا أحمد؟ من هذا الفتى الذي معك يا أحمد؟ كأنه أخوك. كأنه أخوك. أحمد نعم هو أخي الشقيق. علي أأكبر منك هو أم أصغر؟ أأكبر منك هو أم أصغر؟ أحمد هو أصغر مني. هو أصغر مني. Next page. علي في أي مهجع أنت يا أخي؟ في أي مهجع أنت يا أخي؟ أحمد أنا في المهجع الخامس. أنا في المهجع الخامس وهو بعيد جدا عن المدرسة. علي أنا في المهجع الثامن. أنا في المهجع الثامن وهو أبعد من مهجعكم. وهو أبعد من مهجعكم. أحمد أيهما أحسن؟ أيهما أحسن؟ علي المهجع الخامس. المهجع الخامس المهجع الخامس أحسن، فإن غرفه أوسع ونوافذه أكبر ومراحيضه أنظف، والسرر التي فيه أجمل. والسرر التي فيه أجمل. Alright, so that's the end of the dars here, the conversation between Ahmad and Ali. So what we'll do now, we go back over it again, and I'm going to read it, and everyone, inshallah, read after me from your books. If you want to put on your mics, you can put on your mics, so I'll know when you all finish reading, and then I'll continue. Okay, so if you can unmute your mics now, everyone. Okay. الدرس الثالث.
الدرس الثالث.
أحمد كم طالبا في فصلكم يا علي؟
كم طالبا في فصلكم يا علي؟ علي
في فصلنا 14 طالبا.
في فصلنا 14 طالبا.
أحمد الطلاب في فصلنا أكثر.
الطلاب في فصلنا أكثر.
فيه 19 طالبا.
فيه 19 طالبا.
يا علي اسم الطالب
ما اسم الطالب
الجديد الذي جاء أمس؟ علي اسمه أسامة.
أحمد
هو طويل جدا
هو طويل جدا
جدا.
أليس كذلك؟
أليس كذلك؟
علي
علي
بلى
بلى
طويل جدا
هو طويل جدا
ولكن
ولكن
حامدا
حامدا
أطول منه
أطول منه
إنه أطول طالب
إنه أطول طالب
إنه أطول طالب في فصلنا
إنه أطول طالب في فصلنا
ومن أطول طالب في فصلكم
ومن أطول طالب في فصلكم
مدو أطول طالب في فصلنا
في فصلنا
إبراهيم
إبراهيم
علي
علي
أدفترك هذا يا أحمد
الدفتر هذا يا أحمد
إن خطك جميل جدا
إن خطك جميل جدا
ما شاء الله
ما شاء الله
أحمد
أحمد
شكرا يا علي
شكرا يا علي
خطي جميل
خطي جميل
وخطك أجمل
وخطك أجمل
علي
علي
من هذا الفتى
من هذا الفتى
الذي معك
الذي معك
يا أحمد
يا أحمد
كأنه أخوك
كأنه أخوك
أحمد
أحمد
نعم هو أخي
نعم هو أخي
هو أخي الشقيق
هو أخي الشقيق
علي
علي
أكبر منك
أكبر منك
هو أم أصغر
أم أصغر
أحمد
أحمد
هو أصغر مني
هو أصغر مني
سبيج علي
علي
في أي مهجع أنت يا أخي
في أي مهجأ أنت يا أخي
أحمد
أحمد
أنا في المهجع الخامس
أ- أنا في المهجأ الخامس الخامس
وهو بعيد جدا
وهو بعيد جدا
عن المدرسة
عن المدرسة
علي
علي
أنا في المهجع الثامن
أنا في المهجأ الثامن
وهو أبعد
وهو أبعد
من
من
مهجعكم
مهجئكم
أحمد
أحمد
أيهما أحسن
أيهما أحسن
علي
علي
المهجع الخامس
المهجأ الخامس
المهجع الخامس
المهجأ الخامس
أحسن
أحسن
فإن غرفه
فإن غرفه
فإن غرفه
فإن غرفه
أوسع
أوسع
ونوافذه
ونوافذه
أكبر
أكبر
ومراحيضه
ومراحيضه
أنظف
أنظف
والسرر
والسرر
التي
التي
فيه
فيه
أجمل.
أجمل.
All right. Okay, so this is the passage here. We're going to go through it line by line. You all can mute your mics again, inshallah. And if you have any question as I go through the passage, you can stop. You can stop me and ask if you have any questions, any clarifications, anything you don't understand. All right. So you can unmute your mic and ask, or if you want to type it in the chat, I think there's a chat that you can type your comments or questions, and we'll try to answer it, inshallah. Right? So, Ad-Darsu Thalithu, the third lesson. Remember, in book 1, when we were going through the lessons, they had the first lesson, second lesson, third lesson. So, it wasn't lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, but rather first lesson, second lesson, third lesson, fourth lesson, and so on. So, this here, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, this is called the ordinal numbers. Ordinal, meaning that they're in order, first, second, so. You have a race, person who came in first, second, third, this is the order that they finish, the order. So it's called the ordinal numbers, right? So first, second, third. So normally, if 9, 1 will be wahid, if 9 will be 2, thalatha will be 3, right? But now we have awal, athani, and athalith. Thalith means third, okay? And you'll see as we go down, when they talk about the mahja, which is the dormitory, talking about the fifth and the eighth dormitory, right? So the ordinal numbers, athalith. So ad-darsu thalithu, the third lesson, all right? So it's a conversation between Ahmad and Ali, and they are students, right, in the university. They are staying in a dormitory or a hall of residence, right, in different halls of residence, and they're talking about the respective classes and people in the classes and the height of the people, the students, and so on, right? So Ahmad asked the first question: Kam taliban fi faslikum ya Ali? Remember this construction from the first book. Whenever we use kam, we always use the singular of the noun that follows. The kam is to ask how much. So how much of whatever you're asking, that has to be in the singular form in Arabic, all right? So talibun or taliban is the single, meaning student, a student, right? So whenever we use kam, the two things must apply. One, the noun that after, as I just said, the noun that comes after is in the singular form. And secondly, it must be mansub. It must have the fatha in the ending. All right, tanween fatha. So it's singular, indefinite, and it must be mansub, right, with the fatha. All right. So kam taliban, kam qalaman, kam rajulan, and so on. Right. So here we sing kam, and we using the singular singular noun for student, Taliban, in the accusative form with the fatha on the last letter, right? So Ahmad asks, Kam Taliban, how many students? Fi faslikum, right? So fasl is classroom or class, and kum is you, plural, right? You all recall that when we say assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you, meaning you, plural. All right, so kam taliban fi faslikum. How many students are there in your classroom? Your meaning plural here, you plural. All right. Ya Ali, O Ali. So Ali responds, Aliyun fi faslina, in our classroom, arba'ata ashara طالبا أربعة عشرة طالبا أربعة عشرة means 14. You recognize the word عشرة to mean 10, and أربعة being 4. So 10 and 4 is 14. Alright? So in our classroom there are 14 students. Alright? Just a little note here. We have many different rules being introduced in this lesson, right? This is the first one here. The previous line, the question that Ahmad asked, Kam Taliban, that is something we did from book 1. But in this one, the answer now is a new rule or new law being introduced here, and this is the law of counting between, as I said last week, counting between 11 and 20. Alright, in book 1 we did counting from 1 to 10 and how we phrase that in a proper sentence structure. So here now in this lesson, or in this book, we're going to learn from 11 to 20. Alright? So we see here, Arba'ata Ashara Taliban. So a couple things to note here is that the numbers, they are ending, we will do this properly later on after we go through the lesson. I'm just mentioning it here, right? Numbers, they are ending in Fatha on the last letter. And the thing that is counted is always singular. Alright? If you recall, when you counted from 1 to 10, we use, well, for one thing we use singular, for 2 we use the dual, but from 3 to 10, we use the plural of that object. So if you're looking at pens, we would say, Khamsa tu aqlamin. Khamsa tu aqlamin. So we would use the plural for the word qalam, pen. We would say pens, aqlam. Right? So we use the plural. That is from 3 to 10. Once we cross 10 now, then we don't use the plural for the thing that is counted, but we go back to the singular. That's why we have here Taliban. So it's 14 students. But the students here is not the plural that is used, but rather the singular. Alright? So inshallah we would look at that in a little more detail later on. But I'm just mentioning it here so you see the structure there. Alright? Ahmad, next line now, Ahmadu at-tullabu fi faslina akthar. The students in our class is more. Right? Is more in number. Fihi, in it, meaning in the class, tis'ata ashara. So in the class is tis'ata ashara taliban, is there are 19 students. That is in Ahmad's class, right? So Ali has 14 students in his class, and Ahmad has 19 students in his class, right? Then he asks a counter question, Ya Aliyu, masmu talibi al-jadidi alladhi ja'a amsi. So then he says, O Ali, what is the name of the student, the new student, at-talibi al-jadidi? What is the name of the new student, alladhi, that ja'a amsi, that came yesterday or arrived yesterday? What is the name of the new student that arrived yesterday? So Ali responds, Ismuhu Usamatu. His name is Usama. Ismuhu Usamatu. Ahmadu huwa tawilun jiddan. He is very tall. Tawil means long or tall. In the case of the height of somebody, we translate it as tall. If you're talking about a rope or a hose or a piece of string, then you would say, you translate it as long. You translate tawil there to mean long. Alright? But if you're talking about the height of someone, you translate it as height or how tall somebody is. Alright? So Ahmad says, Huwa tawilun jiddan. He is very tall. So tawil means tall and jiddan means very. So he is very tall. Remember, alright, what tawil jiddan. Right, the next line, alaysa kadhalik. Laysa kadhalik. Good. Last lesson, we were introduced to the concept of laysa, right, being one of the sisters of kana. And we said laysa is used to negate a sentence, to negate a statement of that is contained within a sentence. right? But here we see Lisa being used here to ask a question, right? To ask a question. We know, is what is the particle we use to ask a question. Okay, then Lisa kadhalik, right? So this phrase here is a complete phrase. We'll already take it apart individually, but the whole phrase means, isn't that so? Isn't that so? So, right? So we have asked to ask a question. Laisa means not, ka means like or so, and dalek means that. Okay? So it's a little bit in not the order we are accustomed to in English, but the translation of the phrase means isn't that so? Alaisa kadalik. Alright? So the answer for such a question, if you want to answer in the affirmative, then you have to say bala, bala. You cannot say la. And if you want to answer in the negative, you would say na'am. You would say na'am. Na'am means what? Na'am means yes. But when somebody in Arabic, observe this carefully, please. When somebody asks a question like this in the negative form using alaysa, then if you want to agree with that, you would say bala. If you want to disagree with it, you would say na'am. Na'am means yes, that is not so. So when you say na'am, you will say yes, that is not so. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Tin, the last verse in Surah Tin, Alaysa Allahu bi ahkamil hakimin, is Allah not the wisest of judges? If we respond and say na'am, then we are saying no, then we're saying yes, Allah is not the wisest of judges. Okay? So to respond to that rhetorical question that Allah poses in Surah Tin, the answer is Bala, Bala, meaning uh, uh, yes, Allah is the wisest of judges. So we ask a question here, Alaysa kadhalik? Isn't that so? Bala, yes, that is so. Right? So this is a little quirk in how we answer this type of question. Please remember this. Once there's a question posed like this in the negative format, using Lisa, if you want to agree or answer in the affirmative, use Bala. If you want to answer in the negative, we say Naam. Alright? So if, for example, Usama was not very tall and Ali wants to disagree with Ahmad, but Ahmad say, he is very tall, isn't that so? And if Ali wants to disagree, he would say, Naam. Yes, that is not so. There are taller people in my class. So he's not very tall compared to them, right? So he can say that. But rather here he agrees with Ahmad and he says, Bala, Bala, right? So let's go at it again. Ahmad, huwa tawilun jiddan, he is very tall, alaysa kadhalik. Ali says, Bala, he agrees with him. Yes, he's very tall. Huwa tawilun jiddan. Yes, he is very tall. He is tawilun jiddan. Walakinna, this word here, lakinna, walakinna means but, like the exception. So Ali says, yes, he is very tall, but Hamidan atwalu minhu. But Hamid is taller than him. Hamid is taller than him. Alright, so Ali says, yes, he is very tall, but Hamid is taller than him. Minhu, than him. Alright? Innahu atwalu talibin fi faslina. Innahu atwalu talibin fi faslina. That indeed he is atwalu, the tallest student. Tallest student fi faslina, in our class. In our class. You recall a couple weeks ago, actually, sorry, several weeks ago. Last time or last couple times we met in person in the masjid. I think I was introducing this when we were looking at the phrase Allahu Akbar, and we said Akbar is what we call Ismu Tafdil. Ismu Tafdil, or in English we call it the comparative, or you have also the superlative. Comparative is when you're comparing between two things only, right? Two individual things or two groups of things or persons, right? So once you're comparing between two, you use the comparative, right? But if you're using one person as superlative over all the rest, then you use the superlative, right? So here the comparative would be atwalu minhu. As I said, this is only when you're comparing two things. So you would have to use this with min. So atwalu min Hamid or atwalu min Amina or atwalu min Ali, taller, right? But once you say atwalu talibin, he is the tallest student. Fi faslina, he is the tallest student. So this is the superlative, right? Notice here, the comparative and the superlative, they are both the same word. Please note that. In this case, they are both the same word. What makes the difference is what is paired with, what the word is paired with. So this one, the comparative, using min to compare to something else, right? Whereas this one, you use it like mudaf, mudaf ilai. So atwalu talibin, the taller of the students, meaning the tallest student. Fi faslina. Again, a lot of these things here we're going to have to go through when we're going through the exercises. You'll see how that is fleshed out and applied in different scenarios and so on. Right? Alright, so Ali continues, وَمَنْ أَتْوَلُ طَالِبٍ فِي فَصْلِكُمْ. And who is the tallest student in your class? Who is the tallest student in your class? Right? Ahmad says, أَتْوَلُ طَالِبٍ fi faslina Ibrahim. So the tallest student in our class is Ibrahim. That's what Ahmad says. Ahmad says the tallest student in our class is Ibrahim. Alright, so going down the page now. Ali continues. Adaftaruka hada ya Ahmadu. Adaftaruka hada ya Ahmadu. Is this your notebook, O Ahmad? Is this your notebook, O Ahmad? Inna khattaka jamilun. Verily, your handwriting or your writing, jamilun jiddan, is very beautiful. Jiddan means very. And you have here, right, the adjective jamilun. So, inna khattaka jamilun jiddan. Verily, your handwriting is very beautiful. Good. We have this phrase here, inna. You recall when we did inna a while back? Inna. So we said inna is a particle that, right, is applied to a nominal sentence. All right, nominal sentence. And we say that the mubtada in that nominal sentence, when inna is applied to it, the mubtada is now called ismu inna, and the khabar is called khabar inna. The ismu inna, we said, because of the word, the particle inna, it causes the ismu inna, which was the mubtada, it causes it now to become in the state of nasb or accusative state. That is why we have the ta here. That's why we have the ta with a fatha, right? So this word here, khattaka, is really two things. The khattun is writing or handwriting, and the ka here is a pronoun attached to the word khat. All right? So the inna will apply to this word khat, which means writing or handwriting. Okay? So as we said, the ismu inna, which would have been the khabar without the inna, if we just say khattuka jamilun jiddan, then we would say is with a dhamma. But because we introduce the inna, this now has to take fatha to show it is the accusative case. Alright, you all recall that? Right. Alright, so Ahmad says, sorry, Ali, still on Ali. So, inna khattaka jamilun jiddan. Ma sha Allah. So, of course, it's the Islamic practice whenever we praise someone or something or whatever, we say the phrase Masha Allah after that, right? And that prevents what something called evil eye from happening or occurring, right? So we could talk about that next time, inshallah. But the evil eye is something that is real and is recommended whenever we praise or we look at something in a favorable manner. We always say Masha Allah before or after it, right? To prevent what we call the evil eye, all right? So it is a good Islamic practice to say this. Inna khattaka jamilun jiddan. That verily your handwriting is very beautiful. Masha Allah, whatever Allah wills. This means Masha Allah, whatever Allah wills. Right. Ahmadu replies, Shukran, thanks, Ya Ali. Thanks, O Ali. Khatti jamilun. So he agrees with Ali. He says, thanks, Ali. Yes, my handwriting is beautiful. Wa khattuka ajmalu. And your handwriting is more beautiful. Look at this word here. Do you recall how we constructed the ismu tafdil or the comparative from the adjective? Look at it here. We've seen it straight up here, right? Look at the line above. We have jamilun. You all seen that? Jamilun. And look at the pattern here now. You take off the ya and you add the hamza on the aleph before it. Right? So you take off the ya in the middle and you add this hamza, you get ajmalu. So jamilun ajmalu. Kabirun akbaru. Ba'idun ab'adu. Tawilun atwalu. And so on. We have all the patterns here, right? So Ahmad says, thanks, O Ali, my handwriting is beautiful. Wa khattuka ajmalu. And your handwriting is more beautiful. Right? Ali replies, or asks rather, Man hada al-fata, who is this youth or young man, alladhi ma'aka, that is with you? Who is this young man that's with you? Ya Ahmadu, O Ahmad. Ka'annahu akhuka. Ka'annahu akhuka. So it's as if, it is as if he, who here means he. See that? Ka'annahu is as if he, akhuka is your brother. Right? Akhun akhuka is as if he is your brother. Ahmad responds, Naam, yes. Huwa akhi, he is my brother. Ash-shaqiqu, his name is Ash-shaqiq, right? Look at this phrase here, ka'anna. Ka'anna means it is as if, right? It looks as if or it is as if. This is one of the sisters of inna. Remember we said inna has a list of sisters, meaning other particles that act on a sentence in the same way that inna acts on the sentence, right? Just as we have kana and its sisters, we have inna and its sisters, right? So ka'anna is one of the sisters of inna. Right, all right. Also, I forgot to mention, lakinna, which we had up here earlier, is also another sister of inna. All right. So we've seen two of the sisters of inna being introduced in this passage here. Two of the sisters of inna being introduced in this passage, right? Lakinna and ka'anna. Ka'anna. So Ahmad continues, Na'am huwa akhi Ash-shaqiq. Yes, he is my brother, Ash-shaqiq. Ali أأكبر منك هو أم أصغر. So we see more ismu tafdil being introduced here again, right? So we have again here which we saw already, akbaru from the word kabir. We know kabir, and from kabir we get akbar, right? So Ali is asking, is he bigger than you, minka, huwa, am, asgharu? Is he bigger than you or smaller? Meaning, of course, in age, right? So Ahmad says, huwa asgharu minni. Huwa asgharu minni. Right? Huwa asgharu minni. So he is smaller than me. Minni. Go to the next page now. Ali, fi ayyi mahja'in anta, ya akhi. In what mahja? Mahja means the dormitory or the hall of residence, right? Mahja, the dormitory or hall of residence. Remember, they're in university, and of course, many universities they have the halls of residence, place where the students stay, right, while they're studying and so on, right? So Ali asked, "Fi ayyi mahja'in anta, ya akhi?" In which hall of residence or dormitory anta are you, ya akhi, oh my brother. Okay, now is Ali is not the brother of Ahmad, the literal blood brother, but rather brother in Islam. So he refers to him as akhi, my brother. Okay, Ahmad responds, Ana, I, fil mahjai, I am in fil mahjai al khamisi, I am in the fifth dormitory or the fifth hall of residence. Right? I'm in the fifth dormitory. وهو بعيد جدا, and it is very far عن المدرسة, from the madrasa. It is very far from the madrasa. Notice here we translating an to mean from. Because here we're talking about distance, right? The distance from an object or a place. So we're using an here. Whereas if we're talking about somebody coming from a country or from a place or from a city, we would use min, min. Remember a while back I said particles, they are very difficult to translate with one word because particles are used in conjunction with verbs and other nouns and so on. And depending on the context, it will mean different things. So we use min to mean from if you're talking about min, i.e. baladin anta, which country are you from? But here we're saying ba'id an. You don't say ba'id min, right? If we say qarib now, you say qarib min, close to. So here min will mean to, right? So the particles have to be learned in conjunction and in context with other words to know their meaning, right? So here an means from, so far from al madrasati, far from the school, right? So go over that sentence again. Wahua, and it, here huwa means it because it's talking about the mahja or the dormitory. Wahua ba'idun jiddan, and it is very far anil madrasati, from the school. Ali, ana fil mahja'i thamini, I am in the eighth hall of residence or eighth dormitory. Wahuwa ab'adu, and it is further min mahja'ikum, and it is further from your hall of residence, right? Now notice here now, you're using the comparative. So the comparative has to be used with min. So that's why we're using min here. Abadu min. Abadu min. Right? So you're comparing it one mahja distance to the other mahja distance. So you say it is further than that hall of residence, right? Ahmadu ayyuhuma ahsan. Which of the two is better. Which of the two is better? So you have Hasan meaning good and Ahsanu meaning better. Right? So which of the two is better? Ali says Al-Mahja'u al-Khamisi al-Khamisu Al-Mahja'u al-Khamisu, the fifth dormitory Ahsanu is better. So you have a right comparative here. فإن فإن غرفه فإن غرفه, that is because, right, inna, verily, غرفه, its rooms are أوسع. أوسع from the word واسع. واسع means to be wide. So you have أوسع to mean wider. So the fifth hall of residence is better because indeed its rooms are wider. وَنَوَافِذَهُ أَكْبَرُ, and its windows are bigger, right? وَمَرَاحِيضَهُ أَنْظَفُ, and its washrooms are cleaner. وَالسُّرُرُ الَّتِي فِيهِ أَجْمَلُ, and the beds that are in it are ajmal, they are more beautiful, or they are prettier, as the case may be. All right. So we see here the plurals of some of the words we know already. So we know the word for room is ghorfatun. So the plural is ghorafun. Ghoraf. We know the word for window is nafidatun. So the plural is nawafida. We know the word for mirhad is washroom. So marahidahu is washrooms are cleaner. And dhafu. And dhafu from the word nadhifun. Nadhifun. With the ya in the middle there, right? So the ya is dropped out and we get the comparative and dhafu. Right? Of course, the word surur is plural for sarir. Sarir. Surur. So we have the beds that are in it are more beautiful. Good. Before I go on, any questions or comments? Just unmute your mic or put it in the chat. No questions or comments? All right, so we're gonna ask for some volunteers to read the passage now. Go through this passage, practice reading it. Any volunteers, just unmute your mic and you can start this one up. You have the technology, we can use it. We can just, it's almost, not quite, but almost as meeting face to face. So we can try to benefit from this, inshallah ta'ala.
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum assalam. What we have here? This is
Zainab.
Zainab. Zainab? All right,
Yeah.
go ahead. Bismillah.
Ahmadu kam taliban fi faslikum ya Aliyu. Aliyan fi faslina arba'ata ashara taliban. Ahmadu at-tullabu fi faslina aktharu fihi tis'ata ashara taliban. يا علي ما اسم الطالب الجديد الذي جاء أمس؟ علي اسمه أسامة. أحمد هو طويل جدا. أليس كذلك؟ عليا بلى هو طويل جدا ولكن حميدا أطول منه إنه أطول طالب في فصلنا ومن أطول طالب في فصلكم أطول طالب في فصلنا إبراهيم عليا أدفترك هذا يا أحمد إن خطك جميل جدا ما شاء الله أحمد شكرا يا علي خط خطي جميل وخطك أجمل عليا من هذا الفتى الذي معك يا أحمد كأنه أخوك أحمد نعم هو أخي الشقيق عليا أأكبر منك هو أم أصغر أحمد هو أصغر مني عليا في أي مهجر أنت بأخي أحمد أنت يا أخي أحمد أنا في المهجع الخامس وهو بعيد جدا عن المدرسة عليا أنا في المهجع الثامن وهو أبعد من مهجعكم أحمد أيهما أحسن عليا المهجع الخامس أحسن فإن غرفه أوسع ونوافذه أكبر ومراحله أنظف والسرور التي فيه أجمل
ما شاء الله. أحسنت. أحسنتما. Very good. Alhamdulillah. Good. Anybody else wants to volunteer to read? We have Brother Rustam, Brother Mickey. I don't know if Afsana is there as well.
Yeah, I'll try.
Okay, Bismillah.
Yeah, Bismillah. Ahmadu, kam taliban fi faslikum ya Ali. Ali, fi faslina arba'ata ashara taliban. Ahmadu. Atulabu fi faslina aksaru. Fihi tis'ata ashara taliban. Ya Ali. Mas mutalib al-jalili alladhi ja'a amsi. Ali. Ismu Usama. Ahmadu. Huwa tawilan jiddan. Alaysa kadhalik? Ali. Bala. Huwa tawilun jiddan. Walakinna hamidan atwalu minhu. Innahu atwalu taliban fi faslina. Waman atwalu taliban fi faslikum. Ahmadu. Atwalu taliban fi faslina Ibrahim. Ali. Tadaftaruka hadha ya Ahmadu. Inna qattaka jamilan jiddan. Masya Allah. Ahmadu. Syukran ya Ali. Qatti jamilun. Wa qattuka ajmalu. Ali. Man haza al-fata lazima ata ya Ahmad. Kanahu akuka Ahmad. Naam, waki ashakik. Ali. Akbaru minka. أكبر منك هو أم أصغر؟ أحمد هو أصغر مني. علي في أي مهجر أنت يا أخي؟ أحمد أنا في المهجر شايل قميصي وهو بعيد جدا عن مدرستي. علي أنا في المهجر الثامن وهو أبعد من مهجركم. أحمد أيهما أحسن؟ علي المهجر القميص أحسن فإن غرفه أوسع ونوافذه أكبر ومراحيضه أنظف وسور والسرور التي فيه أجمل.
Ahsant. Very good. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. Good. It's 1 minute and 9. So inshallah next week we would ask for any other volunteers if you all want to practice it over the course of the week. If you all have any questions, right, you can put it in the chat. I think one brother Camille asked a question, so that is quite welcome. So please ask your questions and ask any clarification and so on. If you all have, you can put it in WhatsApp chat, and we will, inshallah, we can interact that way as well in between classes. And inshallah, if you try to practice next week, inshallah, anybody wants to volunteer to read again, right? And then after that, we go through the questions after the passage, right? Of course, as usual, the questions will be just a quick intro. The questions normally comprehensive questions that make sure we understand the passage. So numbers 1 and 2 will be that. And then from number 3, we would see some, where we're breaking down the ismut tafdeel, the comparative, and so on. So we look a little more deeper into these concepts from number 3, right? So number 1 and 2, you can try to answer it based on the passage that you read, right? To see if you understand the passage, understand the questions, right? And then inshallah next week we look at the passage again one more time as a recap, and then we will go into the question 3 and further on to look at these concepts of ismut tafdeel and so on. All right. Any quick questions before we close off? Imam, anybody?
It's just if anybody has any questions or comments on the progress. I'm glad to see everybody tuning in, and we catching up. The class is interesting. I think we are benefiting a lot. We need to concentrate on it, make sure we do our work between the classes so that we will catch up. And sooner or later, the technology, either we catch up with it or it catch up with us. And I know I am benefiting tremendously. And with the understanding we get in, we're able to get closer to our Quran and develop our relationship with our Quran, and our Salah will improve and so on. So I just encourage and urge everyone else to make the effort to make sure we log on and practice the lessons in between these sessions. And just to remind on another note, everyone else, the 30th of September is coming in, so we need to bring in those tickets, and if there are any funds to come in with it so that we could close off on our barbecue 2020. We canceled it, so we said that we would call in the tickets and so on for this year. If anybody has funds to come in or tickets and so on, we just try to bring them in so we can account for the tickets that we have outside there, inshallah.